What's up, everyone? Welcome to the channel. You know what we're here for. It says it in the title. We're doing the 2025 Minnesota Vikings record prediction. And starting off this video, they play on Monday Night Football against the Chicago Bears on the road in Week 1, which will be J.J. McCarthy's first start, barring another injury from him. And I think the Vikings are going to win here. I mean, I trust their roster more than I trust the Bears roster, and I really don't think the Bears are going to be that good this year. So I think the Vikings should win this one. I think they will and improve to 1-0. Alright, and heading to Week 2, the Vikings will be having their home opener against the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday Night Football. And I actually think this is going to be a pretty good game. I know if you watch my Falcons video, you know my record for them probably wasn't as good as people thought it would be, but I still think they're a very talented team. And I actually think the Vikings are going to lose this game just because the Falcons do have a lot of firepower on their offense. And I think just because J.J. McCarthy is still fresh, I think he's going to struggle to get in a shootout this early, so I think they're going to lose this game and go down to 1-1. Alright, and heading to Week 3, the Vikings will be playing at 1 o'clock this time, so no prime time. They'll be at home again against the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Bengals defense is pretty bad, and I do know that they did finally sign Trey Hendrickson to a 1-year deal, so he will play this year, but that honestly doesn't change much. The Bengals defense is still pretty bad, and I think that the Vikings, I said that I don't trust J.J. McCarthy in a shootout yet, but considering how bad the Bengals defense is, I just think he's going to win this one. I just think the Vikings offense is too good to lose a game like this, and their defense is pretty good too. And they're at home, and I think losing a game to the Falcons is going to kind of motivate them to win this game a little more. So because of all that, I'm going to say they win this game and go to 2-1. Alright, and the NFL is going to have their first ever game in Ireland. The Vikings will technically be on the road against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think in Ireland, it's going to be a very interesting game. I'm not really entirely sure how it's going to go. I do think the Steelers are going to win just because they have a very good defense, and I think that's going to give J.J. McCarthy some issues, especially considering that they're playing out of the country. So it's about as unconventional as it could get for J.J. McCarthy. So I'm going to say that they lose this game and go down to 2-2. Alright, and heading to Week 5, the Vikings will be on the road technically against the Browns because this game's actually going to take place in London. So neither team is a home team. And this time, I do think the Vikings are going to win. I know I said what I said last week about it being unconventional for J.J. McCarthy, but that's against the Steelers. The Steelers, I think, are going to be pretty good this year. The Browns, no. They're not going to be good this year. They're a pretty bad team. And I think the Vikings should have no trouble winning this game. I think they will and improve to 3-2. Alright, and Week 6 is the Vikings bye week. They're sitting at 3-2. And the bottom line is, I think this team's still going to be pretty good. I mean, as long as J.J. McCarthy isn't, completely terrible, I think they should be fine. Alright, heading to Week 7, the Vikings will be at home in America for the first time in about 4 weeks in NFL terms, so that'll be good for them. What's not good for them is who they're playing. I said the Vikings are a good team when I was talking about the bye week, but the Eagles are a great team. They won the Super Bowl last year for a reason, and their defense is really good too. I think the Vikings are going to lose this game just because of how stacked the Eagles are and drop down to 3-3. Alright, and for week number 8, the Vikings will be on Thursday Night Football taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. And I think this will be a pretty good Thursday night game. I know Thursday Night Football is usually not the greatest, but, I think this game could be good. I mean, you've got two teams with pretty good offenses, and if J.J. McCarthy starts to find his footing, this could be another shootout. And for the time being, I am still going to trust the Vikings just because of how, like I said before, their offense is stacked, their defense is stacked, and I think as long as JJ McCarthy doesn't have a bad game, I don't see why the Vikings wouldn't win this game. I think they will and improve their record to 4-3. Alright, and coming off the mini bye week, the Vikings will be on the road taking on the Detroit Lions. And, I mean, this should be a pretty good game. It's a division matchup against two teams that both had 14-plus wins last year. I'm excited for this one. And I am going to have to give the Vikings an L here just because of how stacked the Lions are. And I personally don't think they're going to be a bad team just because they lost Ben Johnson. They still got Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Sam Laporta. You know, the list goes on and on. So I think because of that, I think the Vikings are going to lose this game and drop down to 4-4. All right, and heading to Week 10, the Vikings will be at home taking on the Baltimore Ravens. This one's going to be tough. You've got Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews on that offense. Then on that defense, you've got Roquan Smith, Kyle Hamilton, Justin Madubuike. You know, the list goes on and on for this team. The Ravens are kind of like the Eagles, except they just can't get it done when it comes to the playoffs. But the point is, I do think the Vikings are going to lose this game too, just because the Ravens are just so stacked. I think it's going to be a struggle for JJ McCarthy to, you know, bring his team to a win against a team like this. And because of that, I'm going to say they lose this game and go below 500 to 4-5. All right, and heading to Week 11, the Vikings will be playing their second matchup against the Bears. They'll be at home this time. And I just don't believe in the Bears. Like, they are always a team that is the off-season champs. They've had that label for like 3 years in a row. And I don't see it. I really don't. Because, like, sure, they built the O-line up, but it's like, you can't just have the same thing, say the same thing every year. And that's why I think the Vikings are going to win. I probably should have started with that. But, yeah, the Vikings, I think they're going to easily win this game just because of what I said and improve their record to 5-5. All right, heading to Week 12, the Vikings will be on the road taking on the Green Bay Packers. And we got some NFC North football, and I think it's going to be pretty good. And just because both these teams, they were pretty good last year. And I do think the Packers are going to lose just because they're taking a step back, in my opinion, from last year. Just because I don't fully trust Jordan Love. I mean, I don't think he's terrible, but I just don't think he's the greatest quarterback in the world. He has turnover problems. So until he takes care of that, I'm going to pick the Vikings to win this game just because I trust them more. And that will put the Vikings at 6-5. All right, and heading to Week 13, the Vikings will be on the road taking on the Seattle Seahawks. And this will be a pretty good game. It might be surprisingly more low scoring than you might think, just because these two teams have good defenses. And I do think the Seahawks defense is going to be pretty underrated this year. I mean, the Vikings defense, I mean, people already know how good they are because they went 14-3 last year. And I see this being a low-scoring game, but I do think the Vikings will be victorious just because I do trust their offense more, because Sam Darnold is definitely a wild card at this point in time when it comes to how he's going to play on the Seahawks. And I know J.J. McCarthy is too, but I think just because J.J. McCarthy has Kevin O'Connell with him, I think he's going to prove to Sam Darnold that anyone can be good in Kevin O'Connell's system. And, yeah, obviously a revenge game because you got Sam Darnold and the Seahawks who played for Vikings last year. So, you know, that's all fun. And I think Vikings are going to win and improve their record to 7-5. All right, and heading to Week 14, the Vikings will be at home taking on the Washington Commanders. And Terry McLaurin got paid. They finally paid Terry McLaurin on the Commanders, so good for them for doing that. And, I do think the Vikings are going to lose this game. I think that it's going to be a game that they kind of don't pay as much attention to as they maybe should, just because they're going to be more worried about opponents down the road. And the reason I think that is because I have the Commanders at a lower record than people probably expect. So I think that the Vikings are going to think, oh, well, they have a bad record. We can take care of them, but, they won't be able to because the Commanders are going to surprise them. Anyway, Vikings are going to lose this game and go down to 7-6. All right, and heading to Week 15, the Vikings will be on the road taking on the Dallas Cowboys. And speaking of paying players, Jerry Jones, can you, pay Micah Parsons? They're the only guy who hasn't gotten paid yet. Trey Henderson got paid. Terry McLaurin got paid, as I just mentioned. And he still hasn't got paid, as I made this video, so yeah, there's that. This game's actually be on Sunday night, too, actually. And I think the Vikings are definitely going to win this game. Cowboys, they have a good roster, but at the same time, as you could probably tell by the inflection in my voice earlier, I don't think the Cowboys have good roster management. So I'm going to say the Vikings win this game and improve their record to 8-6. All right, heading to Week 16, the Vikings will be on the road taking on the New York Giants. The New York Giants, to their credit, did improve. They have Russell Wilson as their starting quarterback now, so I think that's gonna it's gonna make the floor a little higher for the Giants. But at the same time, the Vikings are a stacked roster, as I've mentioned before. I think J.J. McCarthy's really gonna have the NFL down. Not down, but he'll be more comfortable when it comes to this part of the season. And because of that, I'm going to say that the Vikings win and go up to 9-7 or 9-6. Sorry, I'm stupid. 9-6. All right, and heading to Week 17, the Vikings will be at home on Christmas Day taking on the Detroit Lions. And this is going to be a very good match of football. I mean, both of these teams have great offenses. They have good defenses. Last time the Lions beat the Vikings, but that was in Detroit. I think the Vikings are going to win this game just because they're at home, and I think they're going to need this game a little more than the Lions do. So because of that, I'm going to say that they win this game and improve their record to 10-6. And ending off the year, the Vikings will be at home taking on the Green Bay Packers. And in my last video, which was ironically on the Packers, I was talking about how this game could be extreme implications for both these teams, how it could be one gets into the playoffs, the other doesn't. That could definitely happen. I could see this game going either way. But I think because the Vikings, they actually had another kind of mini bye week because they played on Christmas. And I do trust them more than the Packers, as I mentioned when they played earlier. I think the Vikings are going to win this game and have a final record of 11-6. And here's the final standings for the NFC North. I mean, I think this is going to be a pretty tough division. I know I have the Bears pretty low, but I wouldn't be surprised if they won more games. You got the Packers sitting at 9-8. They could definitely win more games. Hell, the Vikings could win more games. And the Lions, I think they're still going to be top dog. I mean, the Lions, they're pretty good, and I trust them about as much as I could trust anybody in this division. And then the Vikings, you've got Kevin O'Connell, who's really good at, making quarterbacks look good. And that's why I'm not too worried about J.J. McCarthy. I think he's going to be good enough for this team to make the playoffs, because 11-6 will make the playoffs. Packers, they might make the playoffs. I'll have to do my tiebreakers in my next video. Bears obviously won't make the playoffs. And yeah, that's going to do it. I've officially done every team. I'm a little proud of that. And yeah, I'm glad I was able to do this. And next time I'll have a video out about, playoff predictions and all awards and stuff like that. And yeah, that should be fun. And we'll get those all out before the season starts. And I'll see y'all in those videos. Thank you for watching these, and I'll see you then. Peace out.